Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel, Drawing with Michael, Michael Clarida Arts. So it's been a little bit of a hot minute since I've done a video, and also it's been a little while since I've done a product review. I've done quite a few product reviews on my channel, from computers to styluses to peripherals, products, pencils, you name it. I always try to look for things that really add to the digital illustrator or traditional illustrator's repertoire of supplies, because at the end of the day, it's just tools and they're not going to solve any of your problems. However, I was contacted by a company called Vitade, and this company was interested in me doing a review of their digital stylus. It's not a sponsored video at all. They're not paying me to do this. And the stylus they sent me is compatible with Windows Ink devices. You guys know how I love my Windows Ink devices whenever they work properly. I did review a Wacom bamboo stylus a while back that was just, it was up and down. It was hard for me to really pin down exactly if it was good or not. So I actually did end up getting rid of it. But recently I did review a couple other styluses, and I think that's why this company sent me this stylus. As you see, it's nothing really spectacular in terms of packaging, but it was, sent to me very quickly. And this particular stylus, you can purchase from Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description below if you'd like what you see whenever you watch the review. I always like having easy access. I don't get any kickbacks. I don't get anything from this particular piece. I mean, if it's great, buy the product. If after I review it and it's terrible, then it's up to you. You can buy it or not. It's about 30 bucks. So the Surface Pen that you can purchase with your Surface device, because this I believe is specifically for Windows Ink. So it says optimized for Windows Ink. And I'm going to be running it on the Surface Pro 7 today. I do have other Surface devices, and I will be receiving in another Windows Ink device that I might try this particular stylus out on, and we're going to see how it goes. This is the model M1 Black, and again, the link is in the description. It's got 4,096 levels of pressure sensitivity. It uses the Microsoft Windows Pen protocol, not the active stylus pen protocol. I don't believe. I'm going to have to look a little bit more into that and read the website a little bit better. But we're going to go ahead and do an unboxing, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here is the pen I've been using recently. This is the Raphael 520, made by Renassier, and this is a great alternative to the Surface Pen. However, I know there's a lot of options out there, so like I said, this company sent these to me, or this particular stylus to me. Let's look on their Amazon website here. Let's see what they got to say. Okay, so this is made by Vitade, or Vitade. Looks very similar to a Surface Pen. Actually, the pen itself looks very similar to the Wacom bamboo. So let's look at some of the features of it. 4,096 levels of pressure sensitivity, with eraser button, palm rejection, awesome. Tilt, awesome. Compatible with Surface Pro, Surface Go, Book, Laptop Studio, and Duo series. Palm rejection, eraser, right click. So it's got two buttons right here, and I guess it's got a button on the eraser, which is awesome. Let me see. For stylus for Microsoft Surface. So it lists all the compatible devices. It looks like it goes all the way back to the Surface 3, which is very similar to what the Renassier 520, the Raphael 520, and the Surface Pen goes back to. So let's look down here if there's any product. Stylus for Pen Surface. Auto pairing, awesome. No lag, we will see. Eraser button, tilt, shading, and sketch. So that's exactly why I initially got a pen for the Surface, is because I wanted to draw on it. Some people use it for note-taking, which is fine. And the palm rejection on here sometimes is kind of iffy depending on the program that you use. Today we're going to be working with Photoshop. So it says with all the Surface devices, all of them listed. I'm not going to talk about it. And it says 1,800 hours of writing time with a quadruple A battery for Surface devices will automatically turn off and let the pen idle, which is awesome. So it shows the old pen for the Surface with only 1,024. That was pre-updates, pre-Surface Pro pen, and some of the, the newer pens that are on the market. So let's go ahead and get out of there. And what's really cool is it's only 30 bucks with free shipping if you have Prime. I think it might be free shipping overall, which is also pretty cool. So let's go ahead and look at the device itself. So like I had said, it came really quick. I got contacted, and probably within 3 days, 4 days, the pen came. I don't know if that's going to be the similar experience to you. And it came in a Amazon box, and this is what I pulled out of it. Made in China, pretty simple. And you didn't have any packaging on it at all. You just slide the pen out. So I've already had this open once because I wanted to undo the battery. And from my initial kind of gut pull, I pulled the pen itself out. Let's go ahead and put this up here. We're going to take the battery and put it in. The initial quality of this particular product is really high. I really, really like whenever companies go all out. Yeah, it doesn't have a button. Maybe it has to do with here. This is a dual button right here. Whenever they go all out on the quality of the product, it feels really good. It's got a nice weight. The barrel's nice and very similar, again, to the Surface Pen. One of the things I don't like about the Surface Pen is it has a flat edge, and a lot of people like that because it doesn't roll. I don't like it, mainly because it just doesn't feel very well in my hand, coupled with the fact the Surface Pen is very slick. This has a nice textured surface. It's machined very well. It's got this little attachment here similar to a standard pen, and what I really like is the fact that it has a rubber nib already included. Now, I looked in the package and I didn't see any additional nibs, which is kind of a bummer. So I'm hopefully I can use some of the Surface nibs that I have, the Surface Pen nibs. And what's great about the Renassier is you can use Surface Pen nibs in it, and I'm pretty sure that's the case here. I'm looking at it. It looks extremely similar to the Surface Pen nib. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew this, and we're going to go ahead and plop in the battery. Now, I will be changing this battery out for you guys that know anything about Chinese batteries that send to America. They're under a different level of safety criteria, and I'm not saying or putting anything down on all Chinese batteries, but from my experience, they tend to explode. So we're just going to put this in here for now, and I will be getting a either an Energizer or a Duracell or something to go in here because I don't trust Chinese batteries. I had a Chinese battery that exploded in my keyboard of my Mac, and it destroyed the keyboard. I couldn't get the battery out. And, I thought maybe it was a one-off, and I looked at all the other batteries that were still in the package, and they exploded. So here's some of the stuff in the packaging. Really nice. I mean, it's very Apple-esque, the packaging itself. It's slid out very nice. It's not flimsy. The Renassier packaging, whenever I got it, was actually kind of crappy. I was kind of surprised, and I made a comment on that. I understand you're trying to make a profit and stuff, but maybe make the package a little bit nicer. And this has a nice neoprene with a nib remover. It's funny, they give you the nib remover, but they don't include any nibs. So I don't think they do. Okay, we'll remove that. And, oh, I get a big surprise. That's a support card from Vitade. Hello, we from Vitade with love. I always like that. We love you. No, we hate you. We love you. We like your money, but we hate you. We love you. But it's just one of those things where you look at it, and even whenever you go even further in, it's kind of funny. I'm going deeper and deeper, and that looks like it's secured to the bottom. So again, neoprene on the bottom. So we have neoprene on the bottom, and then we have the box itself. So let's get rid of the box. Who cares? Who cares? Let's get on to the actual drawing experience. So it says it automatically turned it on. So let's go ahead and maybe, okay. Okay, so yeah, it automatically detected it. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and put this one over to the side since we're not going to be utilizing it. Since this has a battery in it and it does last 1,800 hours, it does far outreach the Renault Sierra Raphael 520's capability of 80 hours of drawing time on a single charge. Now the Raphael has a charging port that you stick a USB in there and it charges it. This has a battery. So this is very similar, like I said, to the Surface Pro pen. So I did a little sketch and drawing a little bit earlier with it just to make sure that it wasn't gonna like explode in my hand, which is kind of ridiculous for me to say that, I know. So I did a really rough sketch, but what I'm gonna do, since I've already done a rough sketch, now we're gonna go to a little bit finer of a line. It's basically the same exact pencil that I use, brush, but instead of showing you all like the drawing test, so we can do a really simple drawing test. So the pressure is really good. And just like with any Surface device, you have to basically tune it. You know, you tune it to the way you like it. So I keep my brush a little bit firmer. And of course it depends. And I just installed Photoshop because the previous iteration of Photoshop was like, it was so bad. The most current iteration of Photoshop crashes on my Mac and it crashes on all of my Surface devices. So 2021 for Photoshop has not been good. So the big problem that these pens and styluses have is not so much the vertical drawing test, and we all have seen the vertical drawing test, right? And you're like, man, that's amazing. And literally it feels wonderful with this little rubber nib on here, but the telltale sign comes in when you do a diagonal test. And let's go ahead and zoom in. And this has nothing really to do with the pen itself. It has everything to do with the algorithm used to communicate with the device. I guess the digitizer in these Intrigue pen protocol devices just isn't that good. But what I'm noticing, and you guys can see it, I'm going really slow, and this is a textured brush. Now let's go over here to another brush. You guys see that I got a ton of brushes. One of my favorite brushes here. Where's it at? Okay, so let's do this one. This is a pretty good one. Okay, so we're gonna go, and if you notice, this is the biggest thing that I see YouTubers do. And honestly, guys, I don't care. I mean, if you're sitting there going, ugh, oh man, it's got to be completely straight. And look, it is. And that is pretty darn good. So let's go to the Raphael, the 520, which is supposed to be kind of the next level of Surface styluses. And again, it's got a little hop. And you can see it's pretty consistent. Believe it or not, this one is better than the Raphael. I'm very surprised. So let's do it. Okay, very solid. We can see a pretty consistent, not too bad. It's not too bad. So let's go over here to this new Vitade stylus. You can see there are some jumps, but for the most part, for the way that I draw, I don't care. You know, the ruler test. Let's try the ruler test. Let's do this a straight line. Okay, good. You know, the reality is these are computers and they're not Wacom. You know, Wacom is the industry standard. Wacom is one of those companies that has worked for the past 25 years to create an incredible product. And these companies that are stepping in with this Microsoft Pen protocol, they're good, but they're not quite Wacom. So you can't really compare them to Wacom. And I frankly, I don't compare any of these styluses to Wacom. It feels really good in my hand. It's a little back heavy. I'm feeling it, but you know, the way that I draw and how fast that I draw, I don't really feel like it's going to be an issue. So let's go to my favorite brush. Where's my favorite brush? Here we go. All right, so drawing tests. Okay, so this is one of those things where, you know, I can sit here and do a There we go. I can do a simple drawing test, or you can I can show you how I'm going to use it. Now, some of you have seen me drawn before. This particular, the Raphael 520 is wonderful. I'm not even going to bring in the surface pen, number one, because it started malfunctioning recently. So I just decided to, put it off to the side. The Raphael has a great barrel. And again, it's smaller and it feels really good. So comparing it to that, I'm coming in with this one. And occasionally I'll use these rubber sleeves, and I'll put these sleeves on here, which I love because, again, it gives me more surface area to kind of put my hand or my fingers on here. So let's go ahead and adjust my pressure curve. Okay. This is a textured brush for you guys wondering. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going back in and I'm fleshing out my forms and redefining my character and what I want him to be. He is a dinosaur caroling. His thing is the Christmas carols, see? Oh! Just a fun little quippy sketch that I made up this morning when I was trying out the Vitade Stylus. Hope everybody's having a really great Christmas season. 2020 was awesome, you guys. Yeah, no. So I know how I draw, and that is wonderful, okay? Having this little sleeve on there. But instead, since that's not what it came with, and we're doing a specific review, and even like this, I mean, it's really good. It feels really good. The response is really good. And since it has that battery in there, there's no real lag. Yeah, and paired with a Surface device using Windows 10, like Photoshop here, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's just like I'm drawing on my Cintiq. I have a 22 HD Cintiq that I use for my normal everyday work, and this is fantastic to sit on my couch or to sit, and that tooth's really big, and watch. So this is pre-programmed. I didn't do anything. There's no additional app that I have to download. This is pre-programmed into the pen. So I'm going to push the button, okay, and it goes to the eraser, okay? Very similar to the Raphael 520, because the Raphael 520 does the same thing, but it's just nice that I don't have to fart around with an additional app. For those of you who are wondering how I'm moving the screen around like this without a keyboard off to the side and a keyboard right here, I'm using an XP Pen remote, quick key remote, about $35 on XP Pen website. And I've got everything pre-programmed into Photoshop. Great companion for this device. So this is like I said, a textured pen. And it's got just this pen, this is a textured brush. I do apologize. This pen has just enough drag. So on modern devices, whenever you have plastic against glass, we all know that it's really slick, right? Really slick, and not the best drawing experience. And you notice I don't have my glove. So it's communicating back and forth, and it's not paired with the device. It automatically senses the device close, and it pairs. Now, you're like, well, the Surface pens, they have to pair. No, they don't. You can use the Surface device pen without it pairing. The pairing has to do with the secondary function. It has to do with the eraser function button, and that's where the pairing comes in. I do believe. See, I wanted to switch it around. So let's go ahead and go around. Nice. I really like having the eraser function right there on the barrel. Pressure sensitivity is good. Response is great. I'm not feeling any discernible lag. The computer is chugging right along. I don't really have any issues or concerns. I've used so many of these devices, so many of these pens, that now if one messes up, my sensors are so like keen, you know, I can feel it. I can feel when it's like completely screwing up. And honestly, that Wacom pen that I had, oh my gosh, that Wacom Bamboo, I had tried to use it. I purchased it and tried to use it in my Dell XP 7511. And unfortunately, the 7511 didn't have pressure sensitivity adjustment. So I was fighting it. Oh my gosh, I was fighting it. And I couldn't get it to work right. Now, whenever I drew on a different device that supported the active pen, it felt okay. But this one, right out of the box, boom. Spend 30 bucks. You don't have to spend that huge amount of money for that branded Microsoft Surface pen. Now, you can if you want. But if you're like me and you want a good product that's going to last, which I don't know. I don't know if this pen's going to last. It could break down tomorrow. But my initial pull of this pen is it feels great. I've had a couple false positives down here from for palm rejection that I'm pretty sure, you know, if I wore a glove, I could get rid of that. But I'm not going to do that. Hopefully, like I said, everybody's having a good holiday. I went on a short little memory outing with my family. It was awesome. We went to Kentucky. We saw some sights. We ate a lot of things. We traveled, stayed in a mini house. It was really cool. I'm really a huge proponent, especially if you know, you have kids. You definitely want to enjoy the time that you have whenever they're around, because before you know it, you know, they're going to be gone. So I love spending time with my family, you know. Yo. Yeah, he's definitely singing, isn't he? Yeah. Okay, so moving back to the ins and outs of the pen. So far, I like the weight. The weight of it's really nice. I haven't really had any discernible quote-unquote lag issues, and I know that's kind of part of the issues that, you know, the Microsoft Pen protocol has occasionally, you know, is lag, parallax. You know, these are all the terminologies that come along with owning one of these all-in-ones. Back, gosh, I can't remember when I bought it. It was one of the first really solid choices. Yeah, there's a little bit of lag there. And it's hard for me to discern whether or not it's the pen, whether it's the machine, because, you know, whenever you wake a machine up, especially a Windows machine, it goes through all these protocols on the inside that you can't really determine if it's your hardware, you know, the pen, or if it's the device itself, or maybe it's going through the security protocol things that it's going through. What was I going to say? I was right in the middle of a sentence. Dang it, I hate it when that happens. Call it a senior moment, call it a boomer moment. I'm not a boomer. Not that old. Yeah, I think it's the machine doing it. Anyway, going back, one of the things that I always look for in a stylus is consistency. Consistency in line, consistency in pairing, consistency in the way it feels. And as far as I can tell, this one is pretty solid. I didn't want to do the run-of-the-mill little, oh, here's, diagonal line test. Oh, it's good. Here's the vertical line test. Oh, it's good. I wanted to actually show it in, I call it in country. That's a military term, in country. To show that it, what it does whenever you're actually putting it through its paces. A lot of YouTubers and reviewers will just basically break it out of the box. They'll draw with it for a couple minutes and determine that it's a great or terrible. And you can't really review something without putting it through its paces. And even this particular drawing exercise is not going to be really putting the stylus through its paces, because I buy products based upon quality. I base them on reputation, reviews. Whenever I go and look at a product for purchase, and this happened recently, I go through and I look at all of the variables. What did you use it for? Under what conditions? And did it fulfill its core moniker? Right? Exactly what it was designed to do. And if it does, and it's not too expensive, ultimately, I hate to say this, but even cost is a huge factor. But if the product that you're reviewing has such a high degree of user satisfaction, cost is one of the minor things, because we all know, and this is something true of pretty much everybody, if you really want something, you're going to make time, you're going to make provision to be able to get it. Right? Sorry about that. It's been an allergy-ridden week. You're going to make provision to get it. And what do I mean by that? I mean, whether it's now, whether it's later, if you see something that you really, 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 really want, you're going to save up for it. You're going to make the time and the financial sacrifice to be able to make that happen in your life. Right? Ooh, I cut that off. I didn't want to cut that off. Why did it do that? User error. User error. Alert, alert. User error. Let's see if I actually cut it off. I don't think I did. I did not. Excuse me. Golly. Let's move him over slightly. There we go. The tip is really helping out. And, I go back to the Raphael, and also I go back to the Surface Pen, because they both offer this nib right here. And there's different softness, hardness, thickness of this particular rubber nib, and they've seemed to nail it pretty good. Whenever I first received my Surface Pen in, Surface, they don't ship with the nibs anymore. I think they may have in the beginning. They don't anymore. You have to actually buy the nibs, and it really sucks. I think it's $15 for a nib set. Say that 100 times. Nib set. And there we go. Anyway, what I was saying about the Surface line, I've owned the Surface line all the way back to the Surface 2. Back in those days, back whenever we were trekking to school on our feet through the snow, we only had Wacom technology to comfort us. Back in those days, Wacom technology was king, so Microsoft licensed Wacom to put Wacom EMR technology into the Surface Pro 2. And actually, I still own the Surface Pro 2. My wife has used it for school, and I still own the pen. I upgraded the pen to a Lifebook. I think it's a Lifebook pen, and it still works wonderfully. You know, isn't that funny how some of the tech, you know, that you use even today, now the battery isn't great, and you can't service those Surface devices in terms of battery. You may be able to, I don't want to say can't, your layman can't. Your person who basically, you know, buys it and uses it every day just for whatnot and doesn't have a lot of technical ability can't really change the pin or not the pin battery, but the battery on a Surface device. So eventually that device will go bye-bye. But in the meantime, it still works great, still connects to the internet, still charges, still does all the really designated things that the device should do. And that's one of those things that, you know, I think companies have a hard time with. They build these machines, they get them out in the market, and that's it. This pen seems like it's really high quality. You know, the only thing that I would change, and this is just preference, is I would make the barrel thinner, and I would make the barrel shaft thinner, just slightly, you know, microns. And I would make this longer. You know, if you look at the Raphael, and this is what makes the Raphael, I believe, a superior drawing device. If you look at them, they're both very similar. The Raphael has a more textured surface. It doesn't have this secondary pin thing that kind of gets in the way whenever I'm drawing. You know, if I flip it over and I get it on this side, it kind of hits my skin. Again, that's preference. It is a little slick, whereas the Raphael is textured quite a bit more. And if you look at the barrel ends, now you look at the overall length, they're pretty much the same, you know, within millimeters. But if you look at the barrel shaft, this is the Raphael 520, and the barrel shaft is so much longer. That is very similar, if you look, to a pencil. This is more stylus, this is more pencil. That is why the Raphael has more of a artist cult following than a sort of computer cult following. Now, if Vitade came out with an artist series, man, wouldn't that be awesome? An artist series. They pick a few artists in the marketplace and they pay them, you know, just a little goodie. You know, all these companies are looking for marketable ways to get their product out in the marketplace. I think one of the ways is to hire illustrators and artists, and you come out with an artist series, and the artist decorates the pen. You know, make it 1,500, make it 2,000, make it 5,000 pieces, and they decorate the pen, and they use the artist on their website, and they have a monthly. So the 12 months, they do an artist. They pay the artist, you know, $3,000 to $5,000. He designs the pen shaft, and it's an artist series pen. You know, and it's a little bit different. I mean, these little end barrels, you can elongate things a little bit somewhat and make the shaft a little bit longer and make it a pro version and charge an extra $30. I'd even pay, you know, if it was to support a fellow artisan, I would pay, you know, inwards and upwards of an extra $100, depending if the product, that's a big if, you know, if the product was there. I mean, $100 kind of steep. Let's say an extra $50. Let's say the pen retailed at $98 or $105, because right now it's $30, which is a steal for this pen, the tech. You know, he's looking pretty good. You know, I'd pay an extra few bucks for a good quality product. And that's what I was talking about earlier, about how, you know, you pay for performance, you pay that extra few dollars for a product that's going to last, a product that you like, a product that fits you. You know, Apple's really good at that. Apple's really good at discerning what is going to fit the masses. What is the average? You know, they're not too far this way. They're not too far this way. They are a company of averages. And occasionally they step out. You know, there are, I don't want to say innovators, because they're really not. You know, they just, it's like they take an existing idea, they analyze the crap out of it, then they R&D it to the umpteenth end, and then they make it better, and they come out and they announce it. Oh, this is the best 5G phone ever. Look what it does, and it performs and outperforms its competitors because they've optimized their operating system. You know, I'm not sure if Vitade has done that with this pen. It's very similar, it's very familiar, and I'm sure that they've done their fair share of R&D, or they've licensed another company's tech, which they did, Microsoft Pen Protocol, and they've basically taken, you know, the tech, and it's good, and the tech, and they've repackaged it. You know, I used to see this a lot, and I still see it in toy design. You know, you'll have one company that will come out with a technology, and then it gets licensed. And then they'll package it in such a way that it looks different, and it looks very similar to what they have existing in the marketplace. But, you know, compared to other companies, maybe it looks completely different. And people are like, oh, it's a new product. Well, if you look at the actual products, it's pretty much the same. And that's, you know, maybe they come out with different colors, you know, kind of differentiate. If you differentiate yourself, you're going to get the attention of your customer. You know, even come up with a different design of this particular element. If you had this maybe jet black, maybe the pen had maybe a different acid wash on the barrel, or you had maybe an, you know, even a line, something artistic. This seems very generic to me, and we're going into the design sense now because I can't really talk anymore about the tech. The tech seems to work. The Vitade tech seems to work really good. I'm not getting any false positives. I'm not getting any issues with the pen itself. So now I gotta concentrate on the design. Yeah, that's what I would do. I would come out with an artist series. How cool would that be? Right? Now, in the market, because I have an iPad as well. Let me grab that really quick. So even though I'm a Surface guy, I do own an iPad Pro 12.9. I think it's a 2019 version. And I love it. It's a great machine, comparable to the Surface Pro. And the pen, if you look, I have a little rubber sleeve on it. And again, you know, the Apple Pencil is longer. It's a different type of tech, and it works great. I love it. But for some reason, something's different about drawing on the Surface. I can't really put my finger on it. It's very satisfying. Drawing on the iPad's really good, and I think it might be because of this plastic nib. Whenever I'm drawing on the surface of the iPad, I feel disconnected, you know? And I did put this rubber sleeve on here to help grip it. And I think that some of these companies that make these styluses would benefit from accessories. I'm always thinking of, you know, the user and how the user views and you know, uses a product to the degree that it was designed. And sometimes you get a gem where a product was designed for one purpose, and then suddenly it gets used for another purpose, right? That's what I'm doing right now. I haven't talked about the illustration at all. I keep talking about the pen, keep talking about the tech, because this is a review. You know, the one thing that also is a really big factor for me is fit and finish and quality. And one of the reasons why I like Apple products is because they last a long time. They hold the resale value. And I don't have a lot of issues with them. You know, only time will tell with this Vitade Stylus. It is like I said, it is very similar. I wonder if I could take that end piece off. Probably gonna mess up the, no, can't. Nope. And I'm pretty sure they do that so whenever it lays on a table, it doesn't roll. And I get that. I understand that totally. I am a product designer after all. The tilt seems to be working really good. You can see whenever I put my pen down, it doesn't work whenever I come close, it activates. And then whenever I put my pen down, you can see how it turns. So the tilt is working as designed. I mean, the pen is working as designed. That's a big deal for me. Don't give me a product that's not going to work as designed. That was the big issue I had with the Wacom pen. And, you know, the Wacom pen, although good, really started to rub me raw. I love the textured surface of the Wacom pen. It was larger too. The Wacom Bamboo, I got the #2 version, and I ended up ordering a whole bunch of nibs for it. Because again, they don't come with nibs. I don't know what's wrong with you companies. Include nibs, for crying out loud. You know, it's not a deal breaker, but you pay good money. That's so funny, that phrase, good money. You pay good money. What? You pay bad money. No, you pay money. Let's just say that. You pay money for these products and you want them to last and do their job. You know, but like I tell everybody, especially with cars, you know, cars are one of those things that we want to last forever. I paid $25,000 for this car. Yeah. Why is it breaking down? Why is it doing this? Well, it's kind of designed to break down. You know, they want it to last. They want it to last a certain amount of time. They want it to last where you'll get just enough use out of it. And then they're hoping that the new products will entice you to buy new ones. And that's what happens in computers too. There's something called planned obsolescence. Let's go ahead, that hand reaches around here and it goes like this. Planned obsolescence, where they actually put things in the operating system to slow your machine down. Now, Apple got in trouble for this because they did this with, let's go ahead and have a thumb. Yeah. There we go. They slowed the phones down, but they didn't tell anybody. So then they have all these people running to Apple saying, well, it's time for a new phone. This one's slow. You know, they would update and the phone wouldn't operate efficiently. And suddenly, you know, Apple got, whoops, here we go. You know, and Apple, everybody upgraded. You know, that happened with the 4. I remember the 4. I still have my 4. The 4S Plus. It still works great, it's slow. But they did that because of the battery, and I understand that, but they didn't tell anybody, and that's a no-no. Okay, so overall, how does the Vitade M1 Black Stylus Pen optimized for Windows Ink work? It works great. Man, for 30 bucks from Amazon, it's really hard not to say, this is the best stylus in the world for $30. I've had a lot of styluses, and again, they're not paying me, guys. They're not paying me anything. They didn't, you know, they didn't do anything. However, they did let me keep the stylus for free. So I wonder if that's payment. Huh. Maybe they are paying me with the stylus. I'm a sellout. Good pressure curve. It's not dropping. That's one of the problems I had with the Wacom. It would drop. It would drop when I drew stuff. Oop, had a false positive. That's my fault. The way I draw, notice, is I'll actually put my pen first and then my hand. Actually, I put my hand first and then the pen. And I think what happens a lot of times is it ends up messing up the pen protocol. Great pressure curve, wonderful. We're gonna do a little bit of shading, a little value. I'm gonna put a little value in here, just so you guys can see the pressure curve a little bit more. Now, just to give you some context, we're gonna go over here to the Surface app, and this is where you basically adjust your pressure curve for the Windows Ink devices. So I've got mine set currently at 6, okay? 6 for this particular machine. Now you can set it to firm, you can set it to soft, you can set it to however you want to, but it's really nice that you can set up the pressure curve and dial something in the way you want it. That customization is great. It sits well, it's long enough, it's got good weight, like I said. Let's give him a few scales here and there. Let's go ahead and define that a little bit better. Nice. Okay, just goes around. A little bit of a darker line right there. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add a layer for you guys to show you just kind of how I place in value. Simple value. I work on a colored background again because I want that middle value, that middle tone. And since we're just using gray, placing a few little lines here and there to give form, right? Help liven it up just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, it feels really good. It's not dropping off at all. I dare say this stylus is actually, I mean, like I said, I've used the Pro Pen, the Pro Pen 2, or whatever iteration the current Microsoft. Now, I haven't used the latest and greatest Microsoft pen, that flat thing they have, because I read that it wasn't the bee's knees. And I'm like, I'm not gonna spend $150 for something that's not the bee's knees. I gotta have the bee's knees. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I bought the Raphael. This is just as good, guys. This is just as good as the Raphael. You know, I mean, it's not dropping off at all. And one of the things that I don't like about the Raphael, again, to bring the Raphael up, you see how long this nib is compared to this nib? And this nib is tapered. It goes like this, whereas this nib goes, and then it goes out, and then you have the rubber tip at the nib, a tip at the end. So what happens, you'll be drawing, and then you'll tilt it. It'll start writing on that plastic right there, which I don't like. So it has a degree of tilt, but it's limited, because I'll be drawing like this, and then maybe I'll go like this, and then suddenly I'm hitting the plastic. And that to me is crap. So this one tapers. It goes and it stops, and then it has the rubber nib. So I could go all the way down, you know, to a very lateral, horizontal position before I start hitting that plastic. Okay. So now we're going to test out. I like keeping the lines in there. I don't know if you guys do, but it always gives it such a nice, lively feel. Whoops. Okay. So now I'm going to switch brushes to a larger brush, and I'm just going to put value in. And it's got good pickup, so we're going to go to soft shade. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, shape dynamics. Okay, so we're going to turn that off. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. You see how, I mean, it's just so slight. It's got such a nice feel to it. And you don't see that step. You see it a little bit here. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps of the brush. And I'm sure if I tuned it a little bit more, I'd be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in. I'm going to put in, let's make sure, here, no. Okay, oops. All right. Typically, I'll put in my local color. And kind of determine what I want to do. Oh, I forgot a line. Let's go back to my favorite. Taper, pressure. Okay. I might have actually done that when I Control-Z'd it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you guys on time lapse, kind of watch the color process, because I want to finish this illustration this morning. And if I have any poignant issues or things that rise up in terms of the pin itself, I will stop the video and I will point it out. That is satisfactory to you guys. You're like, hell no. Okay, so let's go ahead and take that down. Good. See, I'm seeing things that I forgot to do. I'm not getting any, like, you know, you do a line and you stop and it goes, doop. I'm not seeing any of that. So overall, I give this stylus a 100% thumbs up. The Vitade Stylus, optimized for Windows ink for Surface machines. Absolutely wonderful. Love it. Love, L-O-V-E. You know, for what I use it for, you know, I'm not going to sit here and do any writing. You know, maybe I'll try it. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Nope. Because that's not what I use the styluses for. Okay, so I'm going to put you guys on time lapse. You can watch the color fill-in process, and then whenever I start to go into the shading and some of the details, I'll bring you back. Okay? Okay, so continuing on with the illustration, now I'm going to put in the shadow layer. For those of you who do a lot of illustration digitally, you know that I'm going to go to let me go ahead and see where we're at here because I don't want to mess up. So my main color layer block in with local color is right here. Now I did put in some textures just because, just simple textures. I mean, literally I just took a brush and put it in here. And the pen performed very well. Pressure again is very light. I was able to get in some really nuance. If you look in here, some really great nuance little areas. If you look in here, just some really great stuff. The pen's performing exactly as it's designed. I'm not having any complaints at all. Other than my wrist on the left-hand side, since I'm on my table and I've got to bend my wrist like this. I tried to have it like this, and I might even have a little, might build a little platform here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer over here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to, let's see here, cancel. And I'm going to make it a layer mask. And I'm going to put that layer mask to multiply for shadows. And I never use black. For those of you who use black, just as a little mental note, black and white both kill color. So depending on what environment you're in, let's say they're outside, typically, you know, outside has a myriad of different shadow colors. So that's why it's a lot of times very hard to pinpoint what color your shadow is. But I typically go and err on the side of cool. Shadows cool, highlights warm, light warm, sunlight yellow, warm, shadows cold, blue, some type in that perspective or color spectrum. So if you go probably, I like to go around here, right around there. And I'm gonna come back to my large soft shade brush. And first I'll test it out. Now, what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to put in, and it's going to look terrible, okay? I'm going to go in and I'm going to block in like this, the shadows like this. And then I'll go back to my layer, my base layer, and I'll adjust the opacity back. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that because let's go ahead and expand this a little bit. Let's go ahead and save. I think my internet is turned on this machine, and what you'll notice, especially with Windows machines, is you'll be working and then suddenly it'll slow down. And what your computer is basically doing is, if you have OneDrive on, it'll back up OneDrive. If you save, depending on where you save files, and also if you know, Windows Defender is on the internet or it checks the license, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that it does. So what I'm going to do is I've got my multiply on, I'll put my pressure on. So you see I can go to pressure. I'm going to turn my taper off. Now this particular brush, the taper is on by default, Shape Dynamics. So the taper, so I'm going to go ahead and off. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a nice broad stroke to be able to go in. And again, the pen is really, I mean, it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. You know, I don't want to sit here and harp on the pen too much because, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want to be surprised. Yeah, I'm so surprised that it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. Yeah, good job, pen. No, if it's doing what it's designed to do, then I shouldn't have any issues. It shouldn't inhibit me from creativity. So my shadow is, my light source is going to be coming from the upper right-hand side like this. So it's going to be coming right here. So right here is where the crux of my highlights are going to be. So the inside of his mouth, see, my computer is doing some weird stuff. It has nothing to do with the pen. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in our shadows. Okay, broad. So I'm going to go pretty big here. Okay, let's push the opacity back on this just slightly. really good pressure curve on this pen. I mean, it's just wonderful. And it has tilt. I don't know how many degrees of tilt it has. I think that was in the documentation. Broad strokes on these shadows to begin with. I can always go back and erase if I need to. So I'm gonna have that. It's gonna be nice and dark right here. Inside of that arm, a little bit of a shadow. And then since it's bowed out, we're gonna have a nice shadow right here. And then we're gonna have a shadow right here because again, that weight, shadow on the bottom here. You see that constant blinking? I think that has to do with Photoshop. It only does it on Photoshop on Windows for me. It doesn't do it on my Mac. It might be RAM issues. It might be video card related. See that blink? Oh, a little bit of a issue right there. Let's go ahead and erase that. And again, very convenient having that little eraser button pre-programmed into the pen. So what I'm going to do is start refining the shadows somewhat. I'm going to put you guys again on time lapse so you can see me put in the shadows where they need to be. You know, again, I'm pretty broad whenever it comes to my shadowing. You know. So I'm going to put you guys on the time lapse. Let's go ahead and do the inside of this really quick. Nice. It feels a lot like, and this is very similar, like I said, to the Raphael 520 that I use. It feels very similar to that in terms of responsiveness. And what's really cool, especially since they've done some updates to the Windows ink, it's really improved over the past even year. I mean, I had some issues with Windows ink, and it was just, man, it was so bad. At one point, I was very distraught because you pay so much money for these devices and you want the Windows ink to work. You know, especially as an artist, you want to be able to use the tool, and it just literally every 5 seconds it was having an issue, and I was very distraught at one point. You know, that's one of the reasons why I had purchased my HP ZBook, because it uses the Wacom EMR Tech. But overall, I think this particular stylus, I would call it a winner. Good fit and finish. Good connectivity. I don't really have any issues with pressure issues or anything like that. You know, obviously, after a year of use, every single day, we'll see how the fit and finish and the quality holds up. That's something that, you know, Wacom really is great at, is their products last. I mean, you buy a Wacom tablet and it'll last 10 years, you know. Of course, you're going to have that one person, mine lasted 6 months and the bulb went out. Yeah, then that's, again, that's manufacturing. That happens. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to put you guys on time lapse and you can watch the wrap up of my singing dinosaur. Okay, so this is the final wrap up for the video, at least. I might work a little bit more on the piece itself, just, you know, in the, you know, for the details and stuff like that. So I think overall, it's a good device. Where you're going to have shortcomings, and this is, you know, something that you're going to have to get used to as, you know, working on the Windows device. And this is something that I really came to terms with, is the flaws that you're going to have most of the time will be in the operating system and not so much on the device and the peripherals you're using. You know, and that to me is just one of those deals where you have to look at it and go, okay, I get it. You know, Windows is still a work in progress, even though it's been out for years, and they've made great strides. But you know, I'm a realist when it comes to, you know, these devices, and I know that they have issues, just like every other computer. I mean, even my iPad had issues at one time. As far as the pen goes, I recommend it. I will not recommend something that I would not use myself. You know, I think it's very important as a content creator to be honest and to let you guys know, yeah, I would use this device, and I would use this device. I would use the pen to do exactly what I'm doing, and I probably will use it going forward. So, you know, the company, I don't know its reputation. I don't know its customer service, you know, and that's one of the big things that you need to take into account. You know, if it's a good company, if it's a bad company, I really don't know. They make a decent product that, you know, the first swing is pretty good. You know, if I had purchased this off Amazon and I received it in and I started using it, yeah, I'd be pretty happy. That's weird. I would be pretty happy, you know. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just wrapping up and putting some highlights. I'm kind of stretching a little bit because I really haven't decided on what I'm doing next. That happens quite a bit with me when it comes to illustration work. What I'm going to do next, like I said, I like the way it's gone. I like the way it looks. And, you know, the pen worked out really well, so that's good. Anyway, hopefully you guys liked the video. Hopefully you'll enjoy future videos. Like and subscribe, please. Hit that notification bell. I try and get videos out, you know, once every couple weeks, once every week, twice a week sometimes, depending on my workload. And, you know, I'm constantly changing things up and doing different things. And hopefully you guys like that. Just a fun little illustration. Again, this particular video, although I did a bunch of other stuff, was for review of the Surface, a pen for Surface. I'm trying to get back to the company name here. Vitade, V-I-T-A-D-E. And I'll put a link down in my description for the stylus, and I think it's $30, which is really reasonable for you know, a pen of this quality and caliber. You know, they did a really pretty decent job with the pressure curve. Is it going to replace any of my other pens? I don't know. You know, we'll see. I'm going to be doing a review here soon for the Yoga 920. Excuse me. And, you know, maybe I'll use it on that. I'm not even sure if, because that uses the active stylus, and this is Microsoft Pen Protocol. So we'll see how that works. Anyway, thank you guys. You know, look me up on Twitter, Michael Clarida. Look me up on Instagram. I'm trying to post stuff all the time, grow the channel. Little update for you guys. You know, I'm always trying to do a little bit more whenever it comes to YouTube, because, you know, YouTube does pay if you have a certain number of views, and I made $160 over the past 2 months, which is not bad. 160 bucks. Now, I did put a lot of content out, and I wish I had more subscribers, but, you know, it is what it is, right? So, thank you guys, and Merry Christmas, because I'm probably not going to make a video. Well, I might. We'll see. Until Christmas, hopefully you're safe. I'm going to go ahead and do this. See, I keep looking at this, trying to think what else I can do to it. Stay safe and enjoy. We'll see you next time, guys.